I know the story of the subway.
You didn't know about that?
No.
Yeah,
I had
word
no
appreciation,
idea.
we were lucky, we got a Subway helmet.
So it was a subway only?
And that Subway, and back when we used to have our meetings.
You were rotating the screen? Yeah.
It's amazing. That's what we got for appreciation, which we thought was fine, was the Subway sandwich. Oh, okay. That's fine. Makes us appreciate things more now. Everybody here? What are we missing? Mr. Warner? Ready to start? You guys ready? Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Sorry for the late start, but we really appreciate the administration and the nice dinner they had for board appreciation. Let's give our staff and administrators a big hand for the nice dinner they had. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Gardea, would you please call the roll of officers and find out if the quorum is present?
Yes, sir. Will members please state present as your name is called? Mr. James Pendle,
Present.
Mr. Rocky Cruz,
Present.
Miss Mary Macias,
Present.
Miss Isela Torres,
Present.
Miss Yvonne Shea, Miss Claudia Marquez,
Present.
and I'm Mayor Gardea, present. President Pendle, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Gardea. Appreciate that. Well, on behalf of the board, once again, I'd like to wish everyone a happy new year. Thank you again for welcome and for being here tonight. At this time, we're also happy to have with us, join us at the table, our superintendent, Dr. Juan Martinez, members of the administrative cabinet at the front of the room. Thank you all for being here, and thank the rest of you for braving the cold weather to be here as well. At this time, would you please stand for the pledge? The pledge is presented tonight by the EMMS Student Council.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. The mission of the Clint Independent School District is to prepare all students to become successful citizens. The district will work in partnership with the community and the family to create opportunities for the students to maximize their personal potential. To begin our meeting tonight, it's that time of meeting we set aside for public forum. Do we have any participants tonight? Okay, we'll move on from public forum then to our recognition. And at this time, it's my pleasure to turn the meeting over to our superintendent, Dr. Martinez, for some very special recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Pendle, members of the board and audience. At this time, I turn it over to Ms. Parker, who would have a presentation.
Well, good evening, President Pendle, Dr. Martinez, and members of the Clint ISD board. January is a special month as we come together to recognize and celebrate school boards across our nation. Tonight, it's our privilege to honor and thank you for the invaluable work you do every single day for our students, staff, schools, and community. Thank you for your service, your vision, and your unwavering dedication to Clint ISD. Tonight, we'd like to share a special presentation from the students who you serve and support. So please direct your attention to the screens at this time.
Clint Independent School District is a district of innovation providing excellent opportunities to its school communities thanks to special people.
We want to say thank you to our amazing school board members for making our school stand above the rest.
With our board member support, we are able to build tomorrow together.
Our school board members, the heroes behind the scenes, dedicate countless hours to ensure success and well-being of school communities.
Your commitment is like no other, and your impact is immeasurable.
Thank you for taking time to connect with students, making every moment special.
Your decisions provide students with abundant opportunities that shape our future.
Thank you for your vision for the future and for being the driving force behind the success of our schools.
The tough decisions that you make for our school do not go unnoticed.
Your dedication promotes an environment where learning thrives and dreams soar.
We appreciate the impact that you've made on the lives of every student, teacher, and family in our district.
Your selfless contributions make a lasting impact on our communities.
We are grateful for your heartfelt leadership in caring for our school communities.
The Independent School District is made better each day by caring board members like you. Thank you for all that you do.
And we'd like to close with a little poem, The School Board's Secret Superpower. Who are these heroes in meetings so long, debating decisions while staying strong? They're not in capes, they don't fly or fight, but trust me, they've got a superhero might. They juggle the budgets, they tackle the rules, making the magic that runs all our schools. Lunch menus, check. A new gym, approved. 1,000 concerns, somehow they're soothed. They're unpaid warriors with coffee in hand, fixing problems we barely understand. They don't teach the lessons or mop up the floors, but they're why education opens its doors. Just one meeting a month, some folks say, only if it really worked out that way. With policies, audits, and emails galore, they're answering questions we'd rather ignore. So here's to the school board, both mighty and tough, dealing with stuff that's never just fluff. They balance it all with a wink and a grin. We're lucky to have them through thick and thin. Thank you for all you do for all of us in Clint ISD. You really do make us. At each of your seats, you have a small box to commemorate our theme for this year. Let it be a reminder to all that you do and how important you are to all of us in Clint ISD. Happy School Board Appreciation Month. And at this time, we haven't been able to get you all together in one spot for a picture, so we ask if you come forward so that we can take a group picture of this spectacular school board.
Ms. Parker, I just wanted to, before we take the picture, I just wanted to add that I do have a cape.
I know. For the record.
I want to throw it out there. One cape.
He does have a cape. Okay. Sorry.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank Ms. Parker and a lot of the administrators, everyone who made the day possible, all the posters we have here decorating the boardroom. Thank you all so much. It was really a nice evening for all of us. We appreciate it. Okay, move on to our next item. We have a presentation. We have a presentation concerning the CCMR Outcome Bonus Goals Update, and also a special education presentation. Dr. Martinez?
Thank you, Mr. Pendel. Members of the board, Mr. Littlejohn will have both presentations.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez, Mr. Pendle, members of the board. Our annual, it's that time of the year in January, we usually give you our targets for the college career military readiness. I'm going to be very brief. We are doing very well. We're continuing at the same pace that we have been for the last 3 or 4 years. The criteria have not changed. There are still the 10 criteria that we still are currently under. And we've actually got our official rating from last year. Remember, it's a year behind, and our official rating from last year was 97.1. So I'd like to thank our high school principals, our counselors, our teachers, our middle school as well, because they start them on the journey. Our official rating will be 97.1, which we will share with you all at the taper presentation. But I thought it would be nice to share it with you at the update for this year's CCMR. Our class of 24, which is still, it's already in, but TA hasn't released it, we're projecting a 97.3. So again, we are doing very well. I want to especially give a shout out to Horizon High School that jumped from a 57 up to the district average with 95.6. And then again, this year, they're actually, class of 24, Horizon's going to beat Mountain View out just a little bit. So we're very pleased with our CCMR ratings. Again, the 24 is preliminary, but the 23 rating is solid now. It's a 97.1. And remember, we have our targets, and so for the district, we're hoping for a 99 by 2025. We're going to be very close to it. There is no penalty if we don't reach it, but our target is 99. You know, when you get up to 99, 100, it's really hard to maintain it. One student can keep you from making it, but we're working very hard to track all those students. Clint, we're looking at a 99 for them as our target. Mountain View, 99 as well. Horizon, we have them at 98 because they were a little behind pace, but by next year they'll catch up to our target. And then overall, the early college remaining at 100. Again, it's hard because they're small and they have one kid that doesn't make it. It can drop them down just a hair, but we're doing quite well. And so our numbers from January, the first column is the numbers of students who've already completed their CCMR. So Clint already has 77 that have completed it, Mountain View 57, Horizon High School 67, and then the early college has 60. The early college only has about 4 to go. That are in progress. The middle column, the next one on track, is the students who are currently enrolled in a program or completing a dual credit class or have indicated they're going to the military or they're going to hit one of those 10 criteria, and we're tracking that. Of course, remember, if a student doesn't pass their dual credit class, then we have to look at another option for them. The third column we have is students who are not on track. It could be a student that just enrolled with us, or a student that we had on one track and now we're switching to another, but we're working with the campuses and they've identified those students to make sure we're getting them on track as well. So far, if with our on track and the completed numbers, we're already looking at a Clint ISD number of 98.1. So if those other 15 kids or so, 12 kids or so, get their CCMR, we'll hit our 99, and we're very close to it. One variable we have is if a student was with us and their senior year transferred to another district and they don't get their CCMR in that other district, it might come back on our accountability because of when they were enrolled with us. So we monitor that as well, and so that's why it's a lagging indicator as well. But overall, you can see the early college right now is at 97, but they only have 4 students to go, so being so small, very close. Horizon's projected 98, Mountain View is at 97, and Clint High School is at 99. So definitely on target. It's going to be harder now to maintain because we're so close to the top. But we are continuing to work on it. Again, I want to thank our administrators. They do an outstanding job. Our counselors, they track it. They meet with kids, and they're making sure that all of the CCMR stays on target. I do believe we are the highest in the region on our CCMR, and in order to have an A, you need an 88, and so we earned an A this year for our CCMR. And we're on target to get an A again this year.
Congratulations on that.
So thank you all. Thank you for your support of all the programs and allowing us to do what we need to do for our kids with all of the programs that we have.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Littlejohn. Great job everyone's doing. We appreciate it.
I'll go ahead and jump into the special ed, Mr. Pindle, since you already referenced both of them. Dr. Martinez, Mr. Pindle, members of the board, I invited the SPED department here tonight because we are very proud of the work that the special education department has been doing, and I wanted to give you an update on that work. I know you see in the news nationwide that special education has been a real hard target, like school districts like Austin ISD are struggling, and the districts are struggling to not only staff special education programs, but get certified teachers in those programs, but also struggling to provide all the services that are required. And so I wanted to give you just a quick update on our progress with our special education department. You're going to see a lot of this at the Tabor next meeting, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things that we're very pleased with and very proud of. So first of all, I'm going to kind of talk about 4 different areas. The compliance status and our RDA staging. We do get rated on our special education program. We get rated on bilingual, and we also get rated on programs that are, they call them special populations, like migrant, homeless, things like that from the state. I do want to talk about our staffing update. We want to talk about how we've really pushed our instructional settings to where we have more kids in a co-taught and inclusion setting versus in units. And then finally, just a quick snapshot on our student achievement for our special education department. Since 2014, we have grown 1,000 students in the special education department in Clint ISD at our campuses. While we've had a declining enrollment at a lot of our schools, our special education population has increased. A lot of it has to do, the last couple of years, with we've been fully staffed. We've had all of our units fully staffed with special education teachers, and we've been attracting students from other districts where they don't have staff. This year alone, from last year, we've already gone up almost 300 students, and we currently have pending evaluations, so we are going to have more. And I want to thank the board and Dr. Martinez, the cabinet, Mr. Chavez, and all of our SPED department, including Dr. Holder, because those TSL $10,000 payments have really paid off. We have been almost fully staffed, maybe just one teacher at the start of each school year for the last 3 years. And Dr. Holder successfully negotiated with the U.S. Department of Ed. Even though the TSL grant finished, she got them to have a carryover, and she gave us 15 more slots this year of $10,000 through this school year. So she negotiated the grant funding, so we have that, and we're currently adding, as we've added staff, we're giving them that $10,000 from the TSL grant still. So we got 4 years out of the $10,000 and through Dr. Holder's negotiations, and all of that plus the district providing the ESSER funds and the $10,000 that you all approved to pay the existing special education teachers has really helped us maintain a full staff in our classrooms. So adding students, you have to add staff. If you're adding 300 special education students in 1 year, that equates to teachers. And we can't do a normal ratio like 25-1 because it could be in an ASC unit or a pre-K collaborative, and we try to keep those classes very small. So right now, we have gained 60 new students to Clint ISD, and we are pending 188 evaluations. So we will surpass 2,000 students most likely by the end of the school year who are receiving special education services in Clint ISD. We do have some students leave, but we have been attracting a lot of students coming to us. And the evaluations also have been coming in, and so we've been increasing the number of students each year. The chart shows you. About 7 or 8 years ago, TEA changed the guidelines for how students can be placed in special education to be aligned with the U.S. Department of Ed. So that jump also reflects that change from TEA, but for the last 7 or 8 years now, we have been complying with all of the federal guidelines as aligned with TEA. So I am very happy to report that from the 2023-2024 school year, we were 100% compliant on all evaluations, and that means that all of our students who received an initial referral from the SPED department, they met all the timelines 100%. That also means our reevaluations, our students who are 0 to 3 years old that receive special services, like they could be vision services or speech, they're all identified on time. It's also that we have IEPs created by a student's 3rd birthday if they're in our area. And then finally, the one we're very proud of is the transition plans have been strengthened to where we've been, any student who is gonna leave us, by the time they're 16, we're already starting on a plan for them to transition into the workforce or to college or to different programs. And so we were 100% compliant. Last year we missed it by 1 kid. This year, 100% compliant. That's hundreds of evaluations, hundreds of tests, hundreds of ARDs, thousands of ARDs, and 100% from the state. So I asked the staff here tonight because between our administration and our special education staff and our teachers, they made this happen, and so I'm very proud of them for being 100%. It's hard when we added 300 students from the previous year and we still didn't miss an evaluation. So I'm very pleased with that, and that's just one indicator, so thank you all. So here's our track record from 2010 to 2023. Every year, TA rates us, and it's on the front page of our taper, special education. And they've changed the rating scale somewhat over the years, but overall, in the last 15 years or so, we've only met requirements twice. And it's very hard to meet the requirements. You have one evaluation that doesn't get completed, you miss it. You have one student whose IEP isn't completed, you miss it. And so, the last time that we met the requirements was in 2019. That was right before COVID. We weren't rated in 20 or 21 because of COVID, but we would have been needs assistance. But on our taper next month, we are very happy to report that Clint ISD met all requirements. So that means no audits from the state, no visits from the state, no documents that we have to turn in across the board, just the evaluations are there, the units are there, the services are being provided, the IEPs are being completed, and we've been staffed to where we can make all that happen. So thank you. I want to thank the Special Education Department again, but our administrators work in tandem together with this team to make sure our students are getting the services they need. So we're very pleased with that meets requirements.
And I just want to add, I mean, even for the department, since we have you all here, the turnaround, that's amazing, and I think it deserves another round of applause. We appreciate you. Thank you.
So one of the reasons why our rating meets requirements is we have our students in the right settings. We have the right number of students in co-taught, the right number of students in inclusion, the right number of students in units. It's very easy for campuses and districts to place students in units where they are in a unit all day and they are not out getting the on-grade level materials with a classroom setting, because it's just an easier instructional setting because you're with one teacher all day and you're working with that teacher. Our 2 ratings for this area, while we didn't meet the state 70%, we went from a 63 to a 68. So the state said that you had so much growth that you met that metric. And that means that our students that are in school age are in the regular classes at a high proportion. And that's our administrators and our APs and our DIAGs ensuring that we're offering co-taught and support facilitation and we're putting our students in a least restrictive environment, and not just putting them in units. Now, there's nothing wrong with a unit. When a unit is warranted, of course, we place them in the correct unit. If they're, developmentally delayed or cognitive ability, the unit is the appropriate setting. But we have been placing more and more students in co-taught over the last 2 or 3 years. And those 2 ratings here show that our instructional settings have improved dramatically to where we have more kids in the co-taught classrooms. And so overall, we met requirements. We were a 1. We have some work to do. Our middle schools and our elementaries are still working on science and social studies. That's really hard. We've been working on that a lot this year. But you can see our, all of the greens are where we met the standard 100%. The RI means we improved so much that the state gave us the credit for it. And of course, you'll look at our high schools, English 1 and English 2. Our general ed students struggle with English 1 and English 2. But overall, we've been meeting that metric, and we're working now to strengthen elementary and middle school, and we're seeing a lot of growth there as well. So there's 18 indicators to meet the criteria, and so we either got the report correct, improvement, or met the metric to be meets required. And so just remember that we added 300 students, we're going to add 200 more students. And so that necessitates monitoring and making sure that we're being fully staffed and maintaining the staff. So what we're doing is, Mr. Chavez actually came to me and said, hey, Jim, we need to start tracking this weekly because we're adding 15 students this month, 20 students this month, and we need to stay ahead of it so when we go to recruiting events or we're putting things out there that we're continually making sure that we're staffed with our special education department. So this is a snapshot of one of the things that we look at. We go by school, we look at the number of students in each unit, we talk about the staff, and then we see how many pending evaluations are pending at that campus so that we can continue to just stay in front of getting the teachers that we need. Right now, we tried at the job fair, Mr. Chavez went, and Dr. Martinez and the cabinet said, if there's 4 teachers there, we're gonna need them, we know we're gonna need them, let's hire them. So we went ahead and we're ready to hire 4 teachers. However, there were none at the job fair. We tried. We are very pleased though. Like I said, Dr. Holder got a carryover and we have 15 slots of the 10,000. So if we hire them through this school year, we can pay them that 10,000. They are required to stay 3 years with us, and I'm going to say about 99% of the teachers that we have paid that money to have remained with us. So it has been a very good incentive. The other thing that we've been tracking is nationwide in the last 20 years, the need for special education teachers has risen by 59%. We see that, we're seeing that. We just added some more special education teachers to get in front of these referrals that are coming, and we're hiring. Ms. Gallego, you made a recommendation today. Thank you for interviewing and getting on top of it. We've had a pretty good pool. How many were in the pool, Ms. Gallego, when you interviewed? There are 5 that are wanting to come to Clint. We've gone a whole semester with none, but right now we have 5. So that 10,000 does help. It really does. Here's the postings from a neighboring district, Socorro. They have all these openings right now. These are just 6 elementaries from a neighboring district, El Paso, and I didn't even check the middle and high school. I ran out of room. These are just the postings from there. And it's let us a little more savvy. They just until filled, but they have vacancies too. Right now, barring the new people we've added for FTEs, I think we only are missing 1 special ed teacher, maybe 2, but we're staying ahead of it, and a lot of it has to do with making sure that we're watching the referrals and hiring the teachers as we need them. And again, thanking Dr. Klein for looking at the budget and saying, okay, yeah, we're adding, so we can add. And so the good thing about adding the teachers is as the students get added, we get extra funding for them, and the costs help us offset the salary for the teacher. One other thing that we've done, and the administration has worked very hard, our principals, our APs, the DIAGs, Ms. Martinez and Mr. Rodriguez, is making sure that we're talking to them about what's best for the students. Do they need co-taught? Do they need to have support 5 days a week? Do they need to be in a unit? Do they need to have support 3 days a week? If 3 days a week is enough, would 5 be better? And that's called frequency and duration. And we have really upped the amount of frequency and duration that we're offering mainly because of co-taught. And that's our administrators having those really tough conversations with parents that say, you know what, they need help 5 times a week. We're going to give them help 5 times a week. They need support. They need this. And so it's really been a partnership between the special education department and our administrators. So that's how we got to those ratings on the RDA, is because, again, the settings and the frequency and duration have improved. And of course, that translates to scores. From 2023 to 2024, adding 300 students, we went up on average 7 points on ELAR in our special education department, population. That's in tandem with our general ed. On math, we went up 6% on average. On science, we went up 4, and social studies, we went up 7. We have a little more work to do there. That's a lot harder concepts for the students to learn, but we are progressing there very well. And so overall, having the teachers, having the right instructional settings, and then having the supports is paying off. We're meeting all of our compliance issues, but we're also growing our students academically. So I just wanted to give you a quick update. We're doing well on our staffing. We're doing very well on our evaluations. We're keeping ahead of any vacancy that we need. We're being very proactive, and you can see the payoff is there. And again, I'd like to thank our administrators and the special education department for really doing a great job and meeting all requirements from the 23-24 school year.
Thank you.
Any comments? What an outstanding job you all are doing, Mr. LeJohn, you and the entire staff. And we appreciate all the hard work. You're a fantastic report.
Yeah, Mr. Pendle, members of the board, we invited Mr. LeJohn invited our special education staff, some of them. So will you please stand and be recognized, because you do an amazing work. It is a lot of paperwork, a lot of hours, sometimes even on your own, after hours, at home, weekends. And yet, you know, they commit themselves to helping our students, and that's not easy to do with special education services, as you know, those of you who are teachers. So, special education staff, please stand, be recognized. Thank you for everything that you do. We really appreciate you, and please continue that commitment to our students. We appreciate you very, very much.
And Dr. Martinez, I'd like to add, they work in tandem with our administrators. We would not have had this rating and this success without the support of our administrators as well.
Of course, thank you. Mr. Pendle, may I request just a minute of break for them to maybe exit out? And
Sure.
I know they had a long day and they want to go home, so we don't want to keep you here longer. So
We'll take a 5-minute break.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out on a cold night tonight, too, and be here with us.
Thank you so much.
And I give you my personal thanks, because some of you have worked with me. First of all, I'm sorry for being that hard mom, but I do want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I saw a 3rd grader that had no future graduate from SICA, and it's all thanks to you and your partnership. Thank you very much. Sorry, I can't stop.
We'll take a short break until 8:05.
Thank you, Mr. Pendle.
Fantastic. Commissioner, is he coming for a purpose? The commissioner's coming for a purpose. Do you get an award? No. Oh, I was hoping that. We're not. School,
But they have a special presentation.
I'll be honest with you, I am forbidden by them to disclose. That's okay, that's okay.
But it is a special.
Yes, goody. That's nice. Well, maybe we can have a hoopla for that. Okay, we're back in open session at 8:05. It's my pleasure now to turn the meeting over to Dr. Martinez for the superintendent's comments.
Thank you, Mr. Pendel, members of the board. Again, on behalf of the school community, the Clint Independent School District Committee, want to thank you and recognize you on this very special day for you. And again, we already said it at the dinner table, but we want to thank you again. For those committee members listening on the video presentation, live or later, we want to tell you that you have the best representatives sitting at this table, speaking on behalf of our students and representing our communities with the utmost respect and to our community, our parents, and our students. And we will always do what is right to support our families, as we've demonstrated time and time again. And it is all thanks to the school board. So any parents out there or committee members watching, this is it. This is the best team ever. So I want to thank you and congratulate you for the work that you do and in support of our little ones. So that's all I have, Mr. Pendel, and we of course look forward to many, many more years working together on behalf of our community.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. We're so honored to be in the position we are here with the school district, and how what makes us feel good is to see the district do well and the students do well. That's what it's all about. So thank you. Okay, let's move on to the administrative reports section of the agenda. Does any board member have any question on any of the administrative reports?
No, sir.
No, sir. If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Would any board member like to discuss any item on the consent agenda?
No, sir.
No, sir. If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The consent agenda is approved. Going on to our first action item, approval of the 2023-2024 annual financial report. Dr. Martinez?
Thank you, Mr. Pendel, and this time I'll turn it over to Dr. Klein, who would do this part of the presentation and then introduce our guest that is not new, of course, to our district, so you recognize her. She's been with us for so many years. She is almost part of the family, or is part of the Clint ISD family, so welcome being here.
Thank you, President Pendel, Dr. Martinez, members of the board. We have concluded our annual financial audit. So we start this audit before the financial year even ends, and we go up until yesterday. And so we continue to work on this. For the timeline, we had a new system. And so we've had Skyward, which is our financial system, and also our student system for many years. We switched over to a new upgraded version, which has been great, very powerful, but it did take us a little bit more time to get reports and get everything done. So that is the reason that we have been working on this. But great news, as always, we have a clean audit with no findings. Our audit firm will share with you that we do have one comment on something that we can improve on, which you've already heard about, so we'll discuss that. We are very proud of the finance team and everything that our district has done to get us in this great financial position that we are in, that we'll continue to do. So we do have a short presentation for you that'll be shared on your screen. Ms. Vanessa Arlacon from GRP will be sharing the information with you. Please stop us at any point or at the end, and either of us can answer questions about the information. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Ms. Arlacon.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Klein.
Good evening.
Right? Okay. Nope, maybe not. Okay. Good evening, Board President, members of the board, and Dr. Martinez. We have our graph presentation prepared to present some high-level information on the fiscal year 2024 financial report. The first graph is the revenue district-wide. The blue portion is the district's revenue from the state. You'll see that increased over the prior year by 14.2 million.
And the reason for that increase is has an inverse relationship with your property taxes. So with property taxes, there was a homestead exemption that the voters approved, and that went from 40,000 to 100,000. So your taxable values decreased. That decreases property tax collections, but then that means that the state kicks in more. So even though the basic allotment per student stayed the same, the state did kick in more based on their formula because they want to have that balance between property tax collections and what the state provides. So you'll see that the red portion dropped down by about 5 million, and then the state portion, which is the blue, increased. And then the gold portion is your federal, and that decreased about 3.8 million. And you'll see that over the last 3 years, that's decreased little by little, and that's as the district exhausts its ESSER funding that it's received. The next graph has to do with the expenditures only in the general fund, since that's mainly what the Board of Trustees works with, is they work with that district budget. The largest portion of the expenditures go to instruction. That's the blue portion there. The increase there was 3.1 million, and that's mostly, that is payroll related. So we have talked about the teacher incentive allotment, that you all received that as state revenue, but then you all made payments to the 100+ teachers that were eligible. And so that payment went out in the summer of last year in 2024. So you all had revenue for that, but then we also had the expenditures for that as well. The next category is instructional and school leadership. That one had very minimal change. It dropped by about $100,000. The next category is student support. Student support is the functions in the 30, so you have function 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, so you're talking about food services, transportation, guidance, extracurricular activities. So in student support, that increased by 2.3 million. About half of that increase is with the contracted services for the food management company in child nutrition. That increased close to $1 million. And then there was also purchases of child nutrition equipment, a little bit over more than 300,000. That was intentional. There is a good problem that the district has. There's too much excess fund balance with your child nutrition program, and the TDA requires that you spend down that fund balance. And so the district has a plan, and part of that plan is making purchases for child nutrition. So there was an increase there. And then the rest of the increase for student support has to do with functions 34, transportation. It was fully staffed. You did have pay rates across the board that the board approved, 3% and 4% depending if they were teachers or not teachers, not nurses, not librarians. And so that you'll see that across the board. But in transportation, we had pay rates, but also the year before that, there was an increase in the hourly rate, and that has seemed to really help with the retention. And so you had a pretty much full staff for all of 23 and 24. And then in function 36, there was 2 athletic coordinators that were added. And then the remaining increases in function 31, as there's an additional focus on the social emotional learning related to the pandemic. And then the gray portion, which is the very small portion there, that's administration, so that's function 41, and also function 99. That decreased by $600,000, and you'll see the prior year in 2023, that's kind of the outlier. This current, in 2024, that's more in line with 2022 and 2021. So in the prior year, there was some increased costs in legal fees and also one-time expenses with the centennial celebration, advertising. The district didn't have those expenses in 2024. And then also election costs decreased in 2024, so that also helped. And then there was a cutback on travel as well.
And I just had a quick question. You're referring to functions 41 and 99, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, for the gray portion, yes. And then the last category we have there is the non-student services. So those are your functions in the 50s. We've got function 51, 52, 53. That's facilities and maintenance, security, data processing. That increased by $600,000. And there's some costs that increase and then some others that offset. So in function 52, the district uses the school resource officers, and there's a contract with the El Paso County. In the year of the grant, the way it was structured, the first years, the district would pay a portion, and then by the end of the fourth year, the district had to pay 100%. And so this year, the district had to pay 100%. And so that increased by about almost $1 million there. And Jesse has explained to me that the county has to sit out for a year and then apply. So this is something that the district would have to incur at least another year or two. So I know that there's some options being explored because this is something that would take a hit in the general fund. There used to be a grant that you could use to purchase these, but because it's become a state mandate, those funds are no longer available, and so the funds had to come from the general fund. So that's something for the board and administration to explore if there's another way to save costs there. And then, so we have that increase in the Sheriff Resource Officers contract. We had a decrease in Function 51 in the prior year. There was some roof repair as well as some HVAC upgrades. And then that's offset a little bit by your pay raises as well. So Function 52 went up and Function 51 went down, and you ended up with a net increase of $600,000. This next graph is just a breakdown of the expenditures, how many cents of a dollar go into the various functions. The changes from the year before are in the red for student support and administration. All the others stayed the same. Administration went down 1 cent and student support went up 1 cent. This next graph is the general fund per pupil and expenditures and state revenue. What we do is we take the state revenue and we divide it by per pupil. That's going to be your red line there. And then we do the same with the expenditures. We take the expenditures in the general fund and divide that by per pupil. And that's the blue portion. Anything below the red line is funded by the state. Anything above is funded either with federal or local monies. There was an increase in both the state per pupil and the expenditure per pupil, but the gap is roughly the same from the prior year. And so again, it's just, their district is experiencing declining enrollment, and so you have a smaller base, so it's gonna cost a little bit more to educate students, and then you also had this large increase in state aid revenue. So then that's why the red line also increases. This next graph just shows a 5-year trend of the district's refined ADA. For 2024, it was 84 less than the prior year, so there was a drop there. If we look at over 5 years, it's dropped 512. And then what it doesn't show here, 2020 was the start of the pandemic, and so I looked at 2019 pre-pandemic, and that actually doubles from pre-pandemic year of 2019 compared to now. There's been a decrease of 1,140 in your per pupil, in your ADA. The last graph we have prepared is the district's general fund balance. It's very healthy. The combined, you'll see that the unassigned increased over the prior year, even though the district did have a deficit for the year. That was intentional. You all have a lot of fund balance reduction projects that you have been working through, and so that's why overall for the year there was a deficit in your general fund, but that deficit came from assigned funds. And those assigned funds are in the yellow category in the other. And so that one decreased, but your unassigned is still, it's still increased. So overall, the fund balance decreased, but your unassigned is the money pretty much that doesn't have any strings, you don't have any plans for, so it's available. And your days of expenditures increased as well, from 111 last year to 118. And so usually TA wants that at 90 days, And so you're in a very healthy position there as well. Your cash balance is also strong as well. And so even though a deficit with the year, all of that was intentional. It wasn't something that you didn't plan for. And then as well as when the district received news that maybe the basic allotment wasn't going to change, there was changes made and reductions in expenses to try to help mitigate that. But then the state did come back and provide more money because of the homestead exemption that got approved. So, and we have a management letter as well. That's probably the insert with your report. And as Jesse mentioned, there's only one comment that we have for the current year, and that's already been addressed, and it had to do with the stipend schedule. When our staff person, Debbie, came to do testing, it wasn't, the stipend that was paid wasn't in line with what was board approved. And so, but that schedule has already been brought in December for you all to approve, and so management's already taken care of that. And then I would like to thank Jessie and her staff. Again, we did have the additional work with the reports, but they've always come through. They're very flexible with us and very helpful. So thank you. Any questions?
No, just to add that I know that Dr. Klein won't be happy until the days of expenditures up to 180 again instead of the 118. But no, great job, Dr. Klein, and your staff.
Very good report. Thank you.
And just to talk about the days of expenditures that we have, the 180 was high. And so that is why we came to you and we were able to do projects and be able to improve our facilities and set aside that ESSER funding. So the 118 days is a good position. And so yes, we did decrease by that amount, but think back to when we adopted the prior budget, or if you recall, we adopted a deficit of 5 million, but that didn't happen. So this deficit here where we have a deficit of 6 million was all of our fund balance projects. So if we were to erase all of fund balance and said, okay, we're not going to do that, we would have put $6 million back into our fund balance. And that's where you see this graph here where it went from 40 to 46. So we were able to adjust our plans throughout the year, and it was tough decisions, and I know that our schools are feeling it right now because some of it was staffing at both the district and the campus level, but we were able to get to where we needed to be for budget. And so I know that one of our first priorities will be looking at adding staff back when we're able to, but we're right now in that limbo phase. Legislative session has started, and we're hearing promising things, that they are looking at basic allotment, they're looking at special population funding like special ed, like career and tech, but that's what we heard in the last session. And so we can't bank on that right now. We are watching it carefully, and we do hope that that funding will flow to us. But I can say that we are in a great position right now, whether the funding comes to us or not. And it has been a difficult decision for you as a board and administration, but we're in a good place at this time. Are there any questions or anything else that we can talk about?
Yeah, let me just add, the other concern for me is we don't know what's the federal funding will continue
Yes,
or
sir.
not, and therefore we also need to be careful with that. You know, if that were to stop, then we have a serious problem. But thankfully, we have this fund balance.
Yes, our reoccurring federal revenue that we receive is around 13 million, 12 to 13 million that we receive, and that is staffing, that's supplies, that's our tutoring money. So if anything were to happen with Department of Education, this would impact us greatly. So we do hope that that doesn't, but we are watching that as well.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any other questions, comments?
So at this time, the administration recommends the approval of the 23-24 annual financial audit.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 2023-2024 annual financial report as presented. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you all very much for
Thank you.
really
Thank you, Dr. Klein. Thank
great
you so much.
information
Thank
report.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second? Okay, have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor? We stand adjourned at 8:24. Thank you all for coming out. I wish we could call a 2-hour delay tomorrow for you. So.